So today we are going to look into API integration, and my name is Mahendran Sundarraj. I'm a certified Salesforce administrator, developer, and app builder. So the agenda for today is we are going to look into API basics, uh, connected apps, and what are the different authentication mechanisms, and how Salesforce uses the platform APIs, uh, REST versus SOAP APIs, some HTTP REST callouts, then some examples with get and post data to service, then SOAP API, bulk API, Apex Web Services, outbound messages. So quite a bit long topics. I hope I could able to complete within 1 hour. So let us look into what is API. So the term like abbreviation API stands for application programming interface. Normally the word API comes when you wanted to integrate the Salesforce application with any third-party application. So this API provides a easy way to interact with web service. Okay, basically when you wanted to exchange data, you have Salesforce. So let us say you have a .NET application or a SAP or any other different third-party legacy system. If you wanted to exchange data, like if you wanted to pass some data and receive some data, you wanted to use API. Basically, what you can do, you can able to do this CRUD operations: create, read, update, and delete. Okay, Salesforce basically the approach what Salesforce has taken in order to build this entire platform, they use this API based platform. So whenever you see like Salesforce objects and fields, they always have it as a API name. So the entire approach Salesforce has taken is like based on the API approach. So I just wanted to first start with this connected app. So whenever you wanted to do kind of any integration with other third-party system, you'll be using connected app. You can find this connected app in the setup. When you search for connected app in the setup, you'll find this UI. Uh, Basically, it is a framework that enables an external application to integrate with Salesforce. So whenever you wanted to integrate with any third-party application, you'll be creating a connected app where you will be creating the connected app name, API name, email, phone, then like some authentication settings you will be putting. So this connected apps helps you to authenticate with the third-party application, authorize and provide single sign-on, all such things. Whatever with regard to this third-party application integration, it enables the authentication, authorization, all those things it enables. So here you are see if you could see the enable OAuth setting, that's a protocol. OAuth is a protocol for authorization protocol. You are enabling that OAuth protocol and you are having the callback URL. Once the API is done, what is a callback URL? And what are the scopes? For example, what are the things that you can able to access from Salesforce? Some basic information or the entire information. So you can determine what are the scopes that you can able to access. So these are the settings that you wanted to provide to the connected app. It is a pretty much they have like 20 different fields. So you can also have some kind of custom parameters that you can able to custom scopes that you can able to create it within this connected app, and you can able to pass it to any third party. So a simple thing like what are the things that you can be able to do with connected apps? So access data with API integration. Whenever you wanted to access from a third party, if you wanted to access Salesforce, you will use this connected app and integrate service providers with Salesforce. Like for example, a DocuSign or any other third-party application that you wanted to integrate with Salesforce, you will be using this thing. So basically, it helps to manage the any third-party apps. So you cannot do a full-fledged integration without getting to know what is connected app. So it's basically a framework that enables an external application to integrate with Salesforce. So what are the authentication mechanism? If you see here, for this connected app, OAuth settings I'm just enabled. Normally, a OAuth 2 is a protocol which we use for authentication. If any third-party application which needs to talk to Salesforce, you will be using this OAuth 2 protocol. And this OAuth 2 is an open protocol that authorizes secure. It's like a secure data sharing between two different applications. So that's what we use OAuth 2. So as I told, the entire Salesforce is built on the API framework. So what are the different APIs that which we use, like SOAP API, REST API, Bulk API, custom API, streaming? These are different kind of APIs that which we use in Salesforce. Hope you all, whoever comes from development background, you might be aware of SOAP and REST API. SOAP uses XML protocol for accessing and manipulating data. Similarly, REST, it supports both JSON and XML. So when you wanted to do like bulk data operations in a chunk, use bulk APIs. And streaming API is something that you wanted to um, you are doing, let us say you are updating some data, you wanted to run a executed trigger, and you wanted to stream some API data to some third party application, you'll use streaming API. And metadata API is something that Salesforce uses for packaging and deploying setup. So the entire Salesforce packaging, deployment, all those things is based on the metadata API. So, and there are some other things like analytics API, tooling API. These are the different Salesforce uses all these different platform APIs. Some of the things which we are going to look into it more in detail in the upcoming screens. So I wanted to talk about uh, what are the different APIs as you see here. Um, just hold on a minute. Yeah, REST API. So if you see here, REST, SOAP, all different APIs are given, and what are the different protocols which we use, and data formats and the communication. So REST uses synchronous communication. Synchronous is something that the code runs in single thread. It's like single processor kind of a thing. It waits until then the next process completes. Okay, that's what like the format what we use for REST is JSON. JSON is JavaScript object notation, and XML format. These are the two formats it supports. Mostly for mobile related, like thin applications, we use this REST API. And SOAP API is like another. It supports the data format is XML, and it is like it's also synchronous communication. And if you see, there are some of the things which supports asynchronous communication. Asynchronous is communication is something that, if you see the definition at the bottom, the thread will not wait until it completes its task before proceeding to next. So it runs in multiple threads. It runs in background. So for some of the bulk APIs, we use asynchronous call. So mostly the data formats, what it supports for this integration is like JSON, XML. And for bulk API, whenever you do like I think we might, during the admin session, some of them might have seen the data loader. Data loader uses this bulk API. When you upload some 100,000 data or any you wanted to use some kind of a third party integration like Informatica or Pentaho, if you wanted to push some data into Salesforce, you will be using this bulk API, which is like asynchronous mode, which will run in the data chunk, like in a batch job kind of a thing. So these are the different APIs. You can probably see all these things. So some of the things one by one, we are going to look all those things in the upcoming screen. So I wanted to first, mainly in the Salesforce, you will be using this REST and SOAP API. I wanted to tell about the REST and SOAP API differences. So you might also have seen what is a postcard and an envelope. So I would compare REST API as a postcard, and SOAP is like more like an envelope. So the abbreviation stands for REST stands for representational state transfer, and SOAP stands for simple object protocol. So the some of the data formats what it supports, REST is JSON and XML. And REST has the architectural style for providing standards between computer systems on the web. And it the REST supports like 4 different HTTP protocols. You can able to get the data, post the data, put and delete. These are the 4 different HTTP formats. Basically, in the interview, some of the interview questions like it supports this 4 different HTTP protocol to perform any tasks for CRUD operations: create, read, update, delete. you'll be using this get, post, put, and delete. Similarly, in the terms of SOAP, you'll be using a WSDL file. So you can download a WSDL file from Salesforce. You can import it in a third-party system in order to do the web service. Similarly, other third-party application, they will have their own WSDL. Let us say you wanted to integrate with Salesforce. You wanted to get some data from third-party system. You can load their WSDL file into Salesforce as well. So WSDL is something like it's like a scripting. It's a web services description language kind of a thing. It's a structured XML file which will have a lot of definitions, and it will know like how to interact with a third-party system. So REST uses HTTP transport, and SOAP is language, platform, and transport independent. So SOAP has like error handling, inbuilt error handling, and REST is something that it operates. It's synchronous, more of synchronous. It like operates one on one record at a time. Uh, that's how REST operates. SOAP can handle 200 records at a time. It allows 200 records at a time. So other thing is like when you wanted to do multiple records that you wanted to do with REST API, you wanted to use the composite functions. So REST you will be using more for browser and mobile related applications, and SOAP is more for it's a little bit complex. SOAP is a little bit complex. You'll be used for mostly system integrations. So this is the difference that you wanted to know about REST and SOAP API. The major input that I wanted to take from in this screen is REST supports JSON and XML. So SOAP supports like XML. The protocols like four different HTTP formats it supports is get, post, put, and delete. REST supports, and for SOAP it is like WSDL. And the other thing is whenever you think of doing any mobile applications or any browser related application, use go for REST. SOAP is for more of system integrations. So these are the takeaway from this slide. So next I wanted to just have a small this picture that you can able to see. Let us say you have a third party application. Imagine this is a Java or a .NET, whatever it is, and you have your Salesforce server, your instance. So you're communicating, trying to communicate using the REST API protocol. What are the things? Four different HTTP methods: get, post, delete, put. Get is for retrieving the data using an URL. You can we wanted to get some all the accounts data or opportunity data. You will use the get. Post is something that you wanted to create an opportunity, create an account from a third party system into Salesforce. You will use post. Similarly, you can able to delete, and you can able to put a smart like mainly for create or replace. You will be using the put HTTP method. So basically, you send a request from third-party application to Salesforce using the HTTP request. It could be either get, post, patch, delete. These are the different HTTP methods. And whenever you interact with Salesforce by posting to a third endpoint URL, it's basically sends the response back. The response could be in the JSON or in the XML format. So for this, there is an endpoint URL. Always, whenever from third-party application you wanted to hit Salesforce, you'll be providing an endpoint URL, and you wanted to say whether it is a get or post. All those methods you wanted to define, and what is the data format that you wanted to send. These are the different things that you wanted to do. So I'll show some other screens where you will see in the live like this HTTP REST callouts. You will see like how we could able to do this thing. So basically, I wanted to just to take show some small example using this REST API protocol. Let me just take this Postman. See, Postman is a tool where you can able to simulate the the all the API related, for example, login, creating CRUD operations, all the things that you can able to simulate using the Postman. So here first of all, you installing the Postman is a very straightforward thing. Like, let me just open this screen. This is the UI the URL that I have defined here. So what I'm trying to do is using the Postman, I wanted to simulate a login information and get some token. Okay, so here is the info like I have put some client ID, client secret, This client ID and client secret, you can always get it from the connected apps. How to go to connected apps is, here is the connected app that I have managed. You can go to app manager. You will see all the connected, all the different apps and connected apps that you have created. Let me see. So these are the two connected apps. So I think this is the first one. So I can go here and I can see what are the um, this is a consumer key. Sometimes they called as client key and client secret, consumer key and consumer secret. So this is something that it's a confidential information, more like a private key kind of a thing. And here I've just put like what are the scopes to allow, and what is the third party URL that I need to call. All those things I have put. So basically, I wanted to take this information, consumer key and consumer secret, in order to connect to Postman. So here, this is a standard thing. Grant type is equal to password is a constant thing. And I'm just giving my client ID, client secret, username, and password. Just give me a minute. Okay. So with this, I'm passing this information. Just give me a minute. I think I wanted to put the right authenticator code. Let me put the right authenticator code. 934,146. So I just put the right authenticator code that will be generated in my mobile if you use like two-factor authentication after the password that you wanted to put it as a suffix. So I got the access token. So this is a simple um, uh, I mean, this is how you will post using this URL. Basically, you wanted to pass the different parameters like client ID, client secret, username, and password, and you will get this access token. So let me copy this access token and put it in a notepad. Next thing is I wanted to create a record, or you wanted to get some record using the um, Salesforce. Like, let me just do this. So here I wanted to put the bearer token, whatever the latest token that I just put it. And here I wanted to get some response, like I'm just trying to get it. So I'm getting all the disk object description of this account object. I can able to get all with this with this URL. I mean, with this is standard API endpoint that which you can able to give. If you see here, NA172 is my instance name, and 48 is the API version name. I'm trying to read all the object description. So for every object, you can able to read the object description. So here is what, like I can see like all the different object description, like about the settings, whether the name of the object, the label, plural name, all those things that you can able to get it. And so this is the most recent record that I have accessed. So if I wanted to get more details about this particular record, I can just put it, send it, and I can get all. If you see here, this is the data that you have it in the Salesforce. The same data, let me put it right here. It's nothing but this particular data. Whatever you see right here, this Highland Manufacturing Limited, using this Postman, I was able to get all the things using the GET protocol. If you see here, this is the endpoint URL. This is the get is the protocol. So HTTP request that I'm sending, and for this I'm sending this authorization token, which I'm sending. With this, I can able to get all the data. Now let us see how to post one record using the JSON format. It's two examples. Let us see. This is like creating a record. Okay. So let us take this small JSON protocol. Nixon, can you help me? Where should I put this JSON format? Just give me a minute.
It's body, Mahendra.
Body. Okay. Somehow it is disabled for me.
Mahendran, you have to select raw.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Under body, you have a lot of option, right? So please select raw.
Somehow it is disabled for me. Okay. Let me just do some other thing like it is somehow disabled for me. I'm not able to type anything. Okay, so basically, I will revisit this thing. So basically, here you are able to retrieve some data. Similarly, when you select the post, and when you can able to put some JSON format, and you can able to create some data. You can able to do this thing. Somehow I'm not able to enter anything. Uh, I will revisit this thing. So basically, let me tell what it is. So you wanted to call this endpoint URL, and if you put this JSON format, you can able to create the record using this using in the account object. You can able to create a record. Similarly, when you wanted to update a record, you will be passing this. You will be having this endpoint URL, and you will be passing whatever you wanted to update. You will be passing it as a JSON format, and you can able to update it. Okay, so here they are just put it curl, but just ignore this curl. Basically, this is an endpoint. You can put the same endpoint, and you will be passing this data right from here. You will be passing using this raw format. Somehow this is not this is disabled for me. I don't know what it is. So that's how you'll be doing. So basically, this is a screen that you can able to create a record, update a record, delete. This is the endpoint that you will pass the ID, and you don't need to pass any request to the delete. Basically, you will be using this protocol. I think for delete, there is something called delete HTTP request that you wanted to put it. So these are the two different. These are the couple of examples that you can try it out. Similarly, if you wanted to get a value using some for different fields, for example, account number and billing code, you can pass the fields. And Similarly, these are the different examples. You can able to use it right here using there are some composite API calls that you can able to see something like if you see here, this is the request that you wanted to put in order to create multiple. For For example, account and contact that you wanted to create in one single REST API call. You will use this composite format. And when you give this kind of a request, you will get the response something like this kind of a thing. So you can able to simulate all these things using the Postman. This one single example that I wanted to give you. Okay. So basically, the whatever the example here is from any third-party application. Here we are using the Postman. We are trying to simulate using the Postman. You will able to send the HTTP request using the get post patch, and you wanted to pass it to the Salesforce. And the next is we wanted to see like how to get a data from a service using the any like Apex format. This is something like a small Apex code kind of a thing. So if you see here, some of the couple of things using the Apex, you are setting the get method as get. You are trying to get, and there is an endpoint URL. This is the endpoint URL. Some of the things, and the request is HTTP request. You are initiating the HTTP request. This is the endpoint URL, and now you have the get method you are setting. And when you send this request to this particular endpoint, when you try to get this thing by sending this HTTP request, the status code you will receive is 200. That is 200 is nothing but a success message. It will give you the response back. Let us try to execute the same code using the Apex format. Okay. When you do this thing, you can go and execute this as an anonymous block. If you see here, there is a log file it will be generating, and basically this is the endpoint. Like let us say you go and copy this endpoint, and you just put it in your browser. This is a Heroku app. This is the response. For example, the animals. There are 4 animals names that they are displaying. You wanted to capture this response. Okay, you are hitting this third endpoint URL, and you want to capture. Now, what we did was we went and put it in this anonymous block. So here is a log file that it generated. When you open this log file, you will see this the different debug statements. Like for example, animal names like scary bear, chicken, all those kind of things. Like you can filter by animal. You will see this all different animal names like majestic badger, fluffy bunny, scary bear, chicken. These are the different names that we can able to get it from this endpoint URL. So this is a small example to just tell you how to hit a third party URL endpoint, and you're trying to get the data using this Apex file. So though I'm writing this thing in the for some of the standard object, you can use the standard HTTP request. But let us say for the custom stuff, something like this thing, you would need to use some kind of a code like this thing. Okay. Uh, this is the get data from a service. So this is the third party endpoint, third party URL, and it's a get method that you're using, and you're sending the HTTP request. And when the data, if you get it in the JSON format, you wanted to deserialize, you will get like one by one kind of a thing. And you wanted to use it in your trigger, or you wanted to save it in your object, all those things you can able to write the logic inside here. Okay. So the next slide I wanted to tell like post data to a service. So similarly, like let us say uh, from Postman or any kind of a third party URL, as I told, you can able to create an account, create an opportunity, anything for custom object, you can able to create the data. So here is an example using the Apex. I'm going to simulate uh, by posting a data from Salesforce anonymous block. I'm posting a data to a third-party endpoint URL. Okay. Here, if you see here, I'm just sending in the body. I'm sending name as Mighty Moose. I'm just sending the small code. So this particular code you can able to write it in your Apex logic. Okay. So here is an anonymous block. We can put any chunk of code, and we can able to execute it here. So the same HTTP request. Here is a third-party endpoint URL, and the best practice is you need to pass it as a variable kind of a thing instead of passing it as a hard code kind of a thing. Sometimes you need to get dynamically this kind of a URL. So here is the method, post method you are seeing. Earlier we have seen get method, and the header is JSON format we are sending, and here is the body. In sometimes when you write the logic, you need to dynamically frame the body using some logics. So here I'm sending this body in a JSON format. Sometimes you can also well do it in the XML format. And when I send it, this is the response, like we'll get it. So here is the post that we have did endpoint, and we got the status code as 201 HTTP response code. Okay, so basically the takeaway from this two slide is, you can able to get the data from a service using the Apex. Whatever you are doing using this Postman, you can write it in this Apex. And this is like post data, like posting a data to a service. So these are the two takeaways that you wanted to get it. Next is SOAP API. SOAP API is mostly like it uses a WSDL file. WSDL is it's like more like an envelope kind of a thing, web services description language. So it's a structured XML file kind of a thing. You can get the SOAP API from the Salesforce. Salesforce provides this enterprise WSDL, partner WSDL, different WSDLs that it provides. So when the third-party applications, they need to use this Salesforce WSDL in order to integrate. So this enterprise WSDL is a strongly typed WSDL for customers who wants to build integration with Salesforce organization only. Partner is for something like customers, partners, ISVs, independent software vendors who wants to build any client applications with Salesforce. They will be using this partner WSDL. So this two different WSDLs they will be using in order to do this integration. So I'll tell you where you can go and get this WSDL. If you see here, generate enterprise WSDL, generate. Whenever you update some kind of a code or anything, any major release, this is the, you wanted to store this thing as an XML format kind of a thing. Uh, this is the WSDL, the entire Salesforce metadata they are giving in this in the enterprise WSDL. So you can save this thing as an WSDL format. You can save it, and you will need to use the third-party application needs to use this XML, WSDL XML. Similarly, there is partner WSDL that you can able to generate. So this is something like from Salesforce, you can generate this WSDL and give it to any .NET or Java for anything if they wanted to interact with Salesforce using the SOAP protocol. Okay. Um, so let us see, for SOAP, there is a tool called SOAP API. Similarly, let us say I will show through an integration how to log in with using this. I wanted to change this code. Just give me a minute. So here is the SOAP. Yeah, I'm passing my username and password along with that thing. I'm just passing the password along with the code. That code I will be using, generating it from this my Salesforce Authenticator. Using the SOAP protocol, I have loaded this my WSDL, and these are the different SOAP binding parameters that you want. You can call all these methods, different methods. Here I'm trying to do this login method by passing this particular request. This is the SOAP request. I'm passing my, if you see, I'm passing my username and the password. I'm getting this all this data. Like here I wanted to copy the session ID. I will copy the session ID. Using this, I will show you how to create an account. So let me see create. Okay, here you can get this create. So I can put the same. See in rest also it's the same thing. I'm putting this authorization token. Similarly, I'm putting here, um, and let me call this thing as um, soft square soap, soft square. Just let us call it a soft square ink. Okay, I'm trying to create an account. If you see here, I'm trying to create an account, and this is the endpoint URL NA91. I think it's NA172. Let me see if it works. Okay. So it created a record. So this is a request. What all here I'm trying to send only is here is the object name. This is as per the WSDL format. I'm sending only the name, and it created the record. When I created this request, this is the response I got. So let us go and see whether we created a soft square. If you see here, this is the data that I've created. Just yeah, I just created this. This is like Pacific time. I created this soft square ink. Okay, using this soap. Unfortunately, I was not able to show through the Postman. Maybe I will, after this session, I will show one or two examples. So similarly, you can able to delete it, update it. You can do all this operations that you can able to do it using the soap. So if you see the difference in the REST, for example, for the get method, this is the endpoint URL that you are passing, either JSON or XML format that you are sending, and here is the endpoint URL. It's like more like a postcard kind of a thing. In the SOAP, and we will use this kind of a thing for the mobile related application. SOAP is for more like a complex integrations kind of a thing. So you can do like multiple, like 200 records, 300 records, you can able to operate. But for REST, only like one record that you can able to operate. But using composite, you can able to composite method, you can create multiple parent, child, all those things. Using the composite method, you can able to create multiple records using the REST. So I've demonstrated how to create how to log in and how to create a data using this SOAP. So you will get used, you install SOAP UI and also this Postman, both are free tools. uh, Once you try to learn how to do the login, then you can able to do this small CRUD operations. So this is a small takeaway that you can do it today, and there are a lot of trial guide exercise in order to do this thing. And you will get this kind of all these methods only after you install this partner, enterprise WSDL. Okay. So we have seen two small examples in REST and SOAP API. So here is what I just try to did this like password along with this thing. You wanted to pass the API token. I passed it as a suffix. Okay. Some you will get it that thing in the mobile. Sometimes it will be like your token as well. You can able to generate your access token. If you're not using like this two-factor authentication, you will get you can able to reset the token. For example, if you wanted to reset your token, if you're not using this two-point authentication, you will use this generate by using this security token. See, you go here and there should be a way to generate the security token from here. For me, I'm using two-factor authentication, so it's not showing up. But otherwise, you can able to generate the security token from here. So you will be passing the security token along with this password. Security token or this pin, dynamically generated pin. Okay. So this is how the SOAP API login, and here is the for the create login. Um, this is the sample request that you will be giving, and you will get the response. The most important thing is you wanted to pass this session ID. Okay. And for the bulk API, Workbench, there is another tool where you can able to generate this thing. So Workbench, let me go to Workbench. Workbench is something like Salesforce tool where you can able to get the entire see let me see, I can able to create a record from here. Let me try that thing. This is also another simulator tool kind of a thing. uh, just give me a minute. So I'm trying to do it for the accounts. Let me try to do this thing. The API version, I'm putting the latest as 48. Here I'm trying to post a record called, let us say, let me create it as Zoom Inc. I'm passing only the name. Can you able to see my screen? Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Sorry. So I try to create an account using this. Thank God it's working in the Workbench. It is working. Similarly, you can able to do it using the Postman as well. So I try to create an account, and here is the ID that it gave for Zoom. So if you see here, I try to create Zoom Inc. So the takeaway message is, here is the endpoint URL. When you use Postman, you wanted to give the complete URL. When you use Workbench, I'm just giving only from the services because it is taking the same session. So here is the JSON protocol. I'm sending the request. I'm getting the response. So it created automatically. It created the Zoom. Now let us say I wanted to update some data here and update the data. So update, I wanted to pass the billing city as San Francisco. And I'm passing for the update, you wanted to pass the ID, the respective ID that you wanted to pass. So if you see here, I don't have the billing city. There's nothing in the billing city. Okay. I don't know. I don't know anything. Any Praveen, any issues do you see? Method not allowed?
It should be. It should not be the post, I believe. You are.
Put. We should put. Okay. Basically, okay. So here is a description that you can able to do. I showed you how to create an account, and some problem with the when I tried to update. I basically wanted to update this particular record. It says method not allowed, but let me take a pass. Let me come back to this thing later. So there are two things using the Workbench or the Postman. You can able to test this REST API, all those things you can able to test it. Okay. You will definitely get there. It's just point of doing some small iterations that you will get to make this all this working. So bulk API is something that when you wanted to update some 1,000 records or more than 1,000 records, you wanted to insert or update or delete. You cannot do it like one by one. You need to do it as the batch mode. in an asynchronous mode. So you can able to process millions of records using this bulk API. When you use data loader, there is an option that you can choose it as bulk API kind of a thing. Similarly, when you use any integration or anything, you will be using this bulk API protocol. Next is streaming API. So where you use now you see all this TVs, mobiles, everything is streaming browsers and streaming a lot of data that it gets streamed to our mobile and everything. This is the most latest thing. Whenever you do any operations in Salesforce, let us say you wanted to update a trigger or send some notification, you can able to do it through the streaming API. Whenever any changes are made, you can able to, through the streaming API, you can able to send some notifications. Whenever any trigger is updated, you can send this using the streaming API. Next is outbound message. See, when you might have seen this workflow or different workflow rules. In one of the workflow rules, I think there is an option called outbound messages. So this is like more like configuration. Whatever we have seen the REST and SOAP API, the same thing. You can choose the option as outbound messages. Whenever you update any account or opportunity or anything, any standard or custom objects, you can able to send the outbound message to any of the third-party endpoint URL. You can able to send it as an post it as an to any of the third-party endpoint URL. So you can able to send some request, and the response you will get it back, whether it is a success or failure kind of a thing. So this is like an out of the box configuration, outbound messages. You can see the outbound messages in this basically in the workflow rules. I think we already this they might have covered this thing. Using this outbound messages, send a secure configurable API message in XML format to a designated listener. Listener is nothing but a third party endpoint URL kind of a thing. When you send some data, this is like without doing any kind of a coding, using the configuration, you can able to send the outbound messages. So here is a graphical UI where you can send it to a web service endpoint some data, and you can get the callback messages as well. So try this thing, outbound messages. Next is Apex Web Services. So using your code, Apex code, you can use some of the standard annotations like HTTP GET, post, delete, put all this annotations that you can use, and you can able to create, delete, read, upsert, delete all this data that you can able to do it using this standard protocol. So here is the HTTP GET. If you wanted to get some data, you will use this HTTP GET, and you can write your own custom logic here. Let us say you wanted to get the data, you wanted to insert into some object. You can write your own logic over right here. Similarly, post, you will use this HTTP post, and you can able to create the record from your Apex code itself. So these are the different things that I want you to take away from the screen. Like when you use Apex Web Services, you wanted to use all these different annotations. Next is Lightning Connect. So the see, now we have seen like REST, SOAP, these different protocols, APIs that we have seen. Lightning Connect is something that it's a very latest thing, and there is a separate license for using this Lightning Connect. It's a like real-time sync between two different applications. Let us say you have a .NET application or a Java or whatever the legacy system. They need to support OData protocol. OData protocol is which supports this Lightning Connect. So you will create some external objects within Salesforce. It's a different type of object where from your external repository, using this Lightning Connect, you can connect your external object. When you connect it using this OData protocol, the data will be synced. That means like physically, it is not something like there is no duplication of data. Whatever you see it in your legacy system, you see it in the Salesforce kind of thing. You can able to query that. using Apex formulas, everything you can able to access. So it's a single way of mapping, that is like from Salesforce to external application, but not vice versa. So it's only like a single connect from a third party. You can able to see those data within the Salesforce. So it duplicates the data. The data is copied into Salesforce from external application. Okay. So if we change the data in Salesforce, it will reflect immediately in the external application. For example, using the OData protocol, you are getting the data in your external object. When you update it in Salesforce, it will immediately in your legacy system also, it will update. So this is the most recent thing, like you don't need to use any of the tools like different Wisdal, all such kind of things. So this the Salesforce has given this Lightning Connect tool. Using this Lightning Connect tool, only thing is it needs to support the OData protocol. You can able to fetch the data within the Salesforce. You can able to query all such kind of things, and you can able to update, and it will immediately reflect in your external system. Next is MuleSoft. See, always whatever the REST SOAP API we are using, there are some limitations. When you go to complex integrations, uh, you will have some lot of restrictions. So MuleSoft was a separate company until 1 or 2 years back. Salesforce acquired this MuleSoft, and MuleSoft has built a lot of connectors for different products. And for Salesforce, yes, whatever you see like create, update, delete, different operations, whatever you wanted to do within Salesforce, they have built all these connectors. So mostly for some of the enterprise applications, you will be using this MuleSoft. It gives the companies the ability to just give me a minute. Okay. It gives the companies the ability to unlock data across systems. It's developed scalable integration framework. So when you wanted to scale the integration framework, you wanted to use this MuleSoft. If you see, let me tell you a small example. You have experienced API, process API, and system API. So let us say your customer is using .NET, Java, or any enterprise application. They wanted to build the experience APIs. So they wanted to interact with the MuleSoft endpoint. They wanted to either send the data or get the data. They wanted to develop that logic within that whatever the system they are using. Okay. And what this MuleSoft endpoint will do is it will communicate. It will act as a junction kind of a thing, and it will if you wanted to the same data, if you wanted to push it to Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics CRM, you can use this MuleSoft. So it acts as a kind of a bridge, and today, like I mean, the third party framework could be done in .NET. Tomorrow it could be in a C# or some latest tool. So you don't need to change anything with the process related APIs. The process related APIs will be staying in the MuleSoft as such. They just wanted to change only how to interact with the third party endpoint URL, the MuleSoft endpoint URL. Only those things they need to change it in the experience API side. So rest everything stays same, because we have seen over the period of time the different languages comes different languages. I mean different versions. All those things we are seeing. So when we try to do this API logic, everything within one single thing, we wanted to keep rewriting our code every time whenever there is we see the evolution of the programming languages or anything changes. We wanted to keep changing the all our code and everything. So if we use MuleSoft, we just only wanted to change the part how to interact with MuleSoft. That's it. The rest, all the process related APIs interacting with the destination system, everything stays same intact. Okay, that's the advantage. Mostly like for scaling the application, for complex integrations, MuleSoft is the most recommended, and I think this is the future.